Lace 'em up, let's start the show. We're digging in with Tripp. 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 We're digging in with Tripp today, yeah.
Well, I hope and trust that everybody's having a great July, continuing to enjoy and celebrate the greatest country on Earth's independence, our birthday, the United States of America. We have been taking a bit of a breather here on Digging In just to recharge, get ready for building momentum for the finest sport on the planet. We'll probably start to do that in August and get ready for the 21-22 season. I'm going to take the opportunity the next couple of weeks to dig in with a couple of non-hockey personalities, which I think is going to be really fun because the people that we will dig, well, you don't come on the show unless you dig in. It's that simple. You don't have your shovel, you haven't proven that you have your shovel to meet, you ain't coming on. I hate to break it, it's that simple. This week's guest I've known for many years now. He would never point to it, he'd never speak about it, but he has had a variety of physical complications, challenges for virtually his entire life, which, among other things, he's had to conquer 16 surgeries. He has spent a colossal amount of time in the hospital, but he's overcome. Why? Because he spoons with his shovel. His name is JT Mestdagh, and we are going to, as I tape this intro, we're going to go up about a 4.5 hour drive, about a 6-7 hour boat ride, depending on what kind of power you've got and what kind of conditions around the Great Lakes. And we're going to tape the episode on one of JT's boats. Why? Because he is nautically beyond guru-itis. He has his 100-ton license. He can man a boat up to 100 tons on the water. He's climbed Mt Kilimanjaro. I read one of his books en route across the Atlantic Ocean to Mykonos. It's called Untethered. I encourage you to check it out. JT is a very special human being. He has just focused on overcoming the next obstacle. And his story is inspirational, but let's not kid ourselves. When you get to know him, he's just a flat-out, extraordinarily good guy. He's my man. We're able to do so and dig in with JT, the 100-ton captain, as I affectionately call him, thanks to our longtime presenting sponsor, the great people at Great Dane Trailers. Family-owned in business since 1900, the finest trailer that there is in the trailer industry. Any heavy truck is very fortunate to latch on a Great Dane to their heavy truck arsenal. GreatDane.com. Engineering expertise, innovation, second to none. So thank you to the great people at Great Dane. What a beautiful hat this is. Oh, this thing, the Great Dane dog, just says, I dig in, because Great Dane certainly does. Please continue to check out our ever-expanding merchandise line, digintrip.com. Some very, very exciting new features on there. Boy, the Caniac t-shirts, the huge Caniac editions have continued to roll off the shelves, and we're going to continue to look to add new things as we march towards August and beyond. Digintrip.com. Rate and review our show on all audio platforms as well as YouTube. And without further ado, let's go right on up. We're right here in Grosse Pointe outside of Detroit. Let's go right up here to JT's boat. And let's dig in with a very special human being and friend. Okay. This is a real treat. My dear, dear friend, JT Mestdagh. No Hard Days is his elite podcast, so please check that out. I would like to get you, as I often ask my guests at the beginning of every show, to define what digging in means to you, JT, but maybe tell everybody a little bit about you, because you've dug in, if you're comfortable.
I'd love to. So, to tell a little bit of my story, as Tripp was talking about the digging in process for me, it starts with when I was born. When I was born with something called Vater syndrome, and it's a birth defect that affects pretty much your whole GI system. And so Basically, I've been rebuilt from the esophagus all the way down, and through 16 operations and many other procedures and things like that, I am fully functioning and doing really well. And so when you talk about what does digging in mean and what do I define digging in as, I think it's, it's first off, it's putting your best foot forward, and it's being able to, realize that we're all going to go through a challenge in life, and just how are we going to get through it, and putting our best foot forward, as well as putting the people in our life that will help us get through it.
How many surgeries did you have digging in?
So 16 operations.
16.
Yeah.
16. Was there, you're such a positive guy, was there ever one moment that vividly jumps out to you where you said, come on, seriously, this is the hand I've been dealt, before you dug in?
Yeah, of course. I think, like you said, my attitude is positive, but even with that, there's times that you're, going through some of the toughest times. I can remember sitting in a hospital room and, at a young age, just knowing that, you're in this hospital while your friends are out doing things and having fun. But I think what put life into perspective for me is the fact that, being in the hospital for 200 some days at a time, and walking down the hall and looking into one room and seeing a kid, and being able at a young age to say, hey Dad, that kid's not as sick as me. And then going a couple doors down, looking into a room and saying, Dad, I think that kid's sicker than me. And then the next day or a week or so later, you walk down the hall again, and both those kids are gone, and the one kid has, checked out from the hospital, and the other kid, unfortunately, has passed away. And that's when it puts life into perspective, and makes you feel and understand how blessed you are to be able to have every day you do have.
I loved I've loved everything you said, as I always do. That's why we're Brotonskis. You talked about surrounding yourself with good people who are going to help to make you the best version of yourself. Amen to that. Faith. What advice or just experience could you share about, God's will, not my will, thy will, where even when things aren't going well, you don't feel like luck is on your side, that you still strengthen your faith to believe everything happens for a reason in God's plan? Yeah,
and that's I think one of the toughest questions, right? One of the toughest things is when you are going through a hard time, is, I always say, when good things are going good in life, sometimes you walk away from faith.
Yes.
And when times are tough and times, you really have to dig in, that's when your faith really comes in and into play. And to grow that faith has been a huge part of my life. And I've been blessed with family and friends who all are strong Christians and have been able to instill that in me and make me understand what my faith is. And being able to dig in and find a time in your day that you can set aside to, focus on prayer, focus on, your understanding of your faith and what the Lord has done for you, I think is like super important, and it's been a important part of my life.
Huh. I got to burn to the next question now, because you already answered one. I was going to say, what is your daily routine? That's you. Do you always find time?
I think I always try to find time, and trying to find time, whether that's just in prayer or being able to sit down and read a devotion or something like that. But that quality time with God is so important, and being able to find that time to focus on you and Him and your relationship. We have time for everything else in our day, right?
Yeah.
And so why can't we set aside a little bit of time for God too?
Absolutely. And you always set a time all the great Digging In No Hard Days fans out there. Is this God's country? Well, we're on a nautical vessel because my dear friend JT, he's in my cell phone as the 100-ton captain. He has his certification nautically to drive and captain any vessel up to 100 tons. How'd you get into that?
Well, first off, I think the first time we met, we were sitting about, 5 miles from here?
Yeah.
And boating across Little Traverse Bay here.
Yeah.
And so I've always had a passion for boating, and it's been a huge pastime for my family. And so one of the fun things with that is I wanted to get my 100-ton captain's license just to have a little bit more knowledge and experience, and it's been a fun experience. And so now I've acquired the nickname 100-ton captain, or the tonner, thanks to this guy.
Hey, listen, in terms of the mojo nature of the nickname, you're right there with former Dig-In guest, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. I mean, these are elite nicknames, okay? The great one, the 100-tonner. So, and it's very apropos. The outdoors, I mean, you're nautical. Tell us about some of the mountains you've climbed, anything else you've got coming that's a lot to tackle right now, but you got a lot of action here on this front.
So I'm gonna start off with just sort of the way or what I'm doing right now. I wrote a book a couple years ago, and it's called Untethered, and
great book. I read it across the Atlantic Ocean.
And this book talks about my medical experiences and education, as well as it talks about adventure and how important the outdoors are for me. Like you said, boating to hiking, climbing, skiing, all those kinds of things. So it talks a lot about adventure and about an experience of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And so my future here in the next couple months here, at the end of August, I'll be climbing it's called Snow Basin Ski Resort.
Yes.
And it's an event called 29029, and it's an Everesting event. So you hike up to the top of the mountain, you take the gondola down, and you do it 13 times in 36 hours to complete the elevation of Mount Everest.
Ladies, I'll finally have my six-pack back. Keep her going.
This guy's doing it with me, so we'll be digging in on the mountain.
Oh, yes, without oxygen.
So that is something that I'm doing, and the reason for this is, first off, I love pushing myself and doing the fun adventures, but also it's for my foundation. And so the JT Mestdagh Foundation is basically a foundation that supports children with similar medical challenges as me, and specifically finding medical supplies for them. And so,
great stuff.
Which can be a tough thing when it comes to unbalancing insurances and things like that. So it's really something I'm excited about, the adventure, but more so the foundation.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, terrific. Kilimanjaro. How did that go down? Any tough moments getting up to that summit?
Some very tough moments. Our goal was to do it in 4 days, to summit in 4 days, and get off the mountain in 5. And so we pushed through and really took the fastest route up the mountain. And doing a little preface of what my medical stuff is, on a day-to-day basis, I have to catheterize myself through the belly button, actually, and put in 500 cc's of glycerin and another medication that helps irrigate my bowels, because I have no bowel control. So it flushes me out from top to bottom. And with that, I had to do that on the mountain. And so this was going to be a feat in itself to overcome and figure out. But we were able to do it. And the first 3 days up the mountain were great. And on the fourth day, on the third night, we did my bowel management program, and I noticed it didn't go so well. And so from there,
what happens when it doesn't go so well?
Just doesn't. I unfortunately had very uncomfortable stomach.
Gotcha.
And so went to bed hoping that things would be better in the morning. Woke up and
Did you sleep all right?
I slept okay at 16,000 feet, as good as you could, I guess, and with a stomach ache. So slept for a few hours maybe, and then woke up at 4 a.m. to reach the summit. And upon waking up, felt fairly well and felt like we could accomplish this, and made our way up. And about 2 hours into it, we had crossed a glacier field where we actually had to use ice tools to cross. And from there, we got across that ice sheet, and our guide said to us, he said, there's no turning around anymore, and this is we have to continue on. And about 30 to 40 minutes later is when my stomach started to act up.
Oh boy.
And so I ended up having what I refer to as a hot stomach, and having basically stomach aches, and then from there it caused me to get dehydrated and then altitude sickness. But with that being said, we powered through it and dug in all the way up, and made it successfully to the summit. And reaching the summit, we talked a little bit about God in this podcast, and between adrenaline, excitement, and I guess just talking about God's country up here, that was another God's country moment, a God place, just being on top of that mountain with some of the coolest people that have introduced me to climbing and stuff too.
Well, you said you had those ice picks or whatever. No, shovels. You were shoveling in.
We were digging in.
Wow, that's strong. Earlier you mentioned surrounding yourself with good people. My dad's no longer with us, but I certainly was and am fortunate to have, in my opinion, the best mom, the best dad on the planet. Talk about the role of your parents. Your dad, Jim. Your mom likes to go by with Kim with me. Kimmy.
Kimmy.
Yeah, Kimmy. Talk about your parents, because you have two fabulous parents.
So, my parents have been my rock. I mean, they've, fought for me, and as I always say, with the medical kind of stuff, I mean, first off, they've, allowed me to live life, very adventurous and fun, and really sort of completely not taking in the account of the medical. It allowed me to try things that probably shouldn't do, some of the medical things. But with that, they just want me to enjoy life. But they have been my rock from day one, and they have really been there for me all the time. And one of the things that I have to say is, for a parent, I always say the harder circumstances is to be the caretaker rather than the person going through the challenges, medically or whatever it is. And I have to say that they've been there through thick and thin. So pretty amazing.
Yes. As we start to wrap her up, 110er, tell everybody how they can get to your podcast, audio platforms, YouTube, your Instagram, all your social media, and then again the foundation, how people can get involved.
Yes, so you can check out jtjester.com, and that's pretty much will get you to everything. The foundation page, which is JT Mestdagh Foundation.org, and then JT Jester Speaks on Instagram and all of the other social medias. And you can follow along with the training journey and the foundation and how we're doing to reach our goal, which is $29,029 as well. And so we're gonna keep pushing on with that, and I hope you guys can check it out and check out our podcast as well, which is No Bad Days on the podcast app.
Do it. It's a home run. No, it's not. It's a grand slam. I have to, bonus content right here, because some of our dear friends, everybody out there, I wish you could know, two terrific little guys, Nick Giorgio, Tony Vitello, they really are little guys. But they told me to ask you about the reason for the name Jester, JT Jester. I hear it's a great story.
Yeah, so JT Jester starts out as a story of me being in the hospital and me coming out of surgery and waking up with a smile and having jokes and making jokes as opposed to crying coming out of surgery as a young kid. And then from there it progressed, and every children's hospital that we went to, there was a book, and the book was called The Jester Who Lost His Jingle. And the jester who lost his jingle basically worked for the king, and the king, he didn't think he was funny anymore and said, you know what, he fired him. And so the jester goes on and goes to the hospitals and starts to make the kids laugh and the families laugh and really make them ease their pain of what's going on in their life. And the king saw this and basically came in and had a reawakening in his life and realized that this is what life's about and stuff. And so it was a really cool story, and with that the name Jester stuck around, and it's a little bit easier than Mestdagh, so for social media it works.
Oh yeah, yes, Dr. JT Jester, the 100-ton captain. Thank you for digging in, and more importantly, thank you for your friendship.
Thank you. Thanks, Tripp.
We're digging in with Tripp today, yeah. Today, yeah. Today, yeah. Today.